Hello and welcome to the show. I am Joe Tophat. On this day back in 1950, Peanuts premiered in 7 newspapers. To celebrate this occasion, I'm going to look at not 1, not 2, but 3 forgotten Peanuts characters. And those 3 are, of course, Shermy, Patty, and Violet. Why these 3? Well, one reason is that I got a request to review them. But more importantly, these 3 played a major role in the early days of the strip. Shermy and Patty, along with Charlie Brown, were in the very first strip. Violet would come roughly 5 months later, but she would go on to play a big role. So, without further ado, let's begin. Although the first strip had 3 characters, Shermy is the only one with dialogue. Well, here comes old Charlie Brown. Good old Charlie Brown. Yes, sir. Good old Charlie Brown. How I hate him! I hate that Charlie Brown so much. Why doesn't he just die? You might get your wish. He was diagnosed with cancer last week. Later in life, Charles Schultz would state that the first strip is the only one he ever regretted doing, because Shermy hating Charlie Brown was way too strong. You would think, judging by the dialogue, that these two wouldn't get along, but that's not the case. Charlie Brown and Shermy were in fact best friends. Before Linus, Shermy is the one Charlie Brown hanged out with. In fact, Shermy could be just as much a victim of Patty and Violet's cruelty as Charlie Brown. Unlike Linus, he didn't have any personality quirks that distinguished him. He was just a straight man. There's nothing wrong with that per se, but he just doesn't have anything interesting about him. The 2 things that stand out about Shermy is that he tends to wear long-sleeve shirts, even during the summer. And his hairstyle, which I guess is supposed to be a crew cut, but it never looked right to me. Schultz admitted in interviews that he never ever liked the way Shermy's hair turned out. The only thing worth mentioning about Shermy is that in the early days, it seemed like he was Snoopy's owner. Don't get too close. He's a mean one. Notice the fierce gleam. He comes from a long line of killers. Shh, he's asleep. Punt formation. That's the boy, Snoopy. Bring it back to me. Thank you. Well, come on in, Snoopy. You're just in time to take your bath. Just think how different the strip would have been if Snoopy had remained Shermy's dog. Before moving on, I'll share with you now the very first strip where Patty had dialogue. Little girls are made of sugar and spice and everything nice. Pow! That's what little girls are made of. Ow! Why did you do that? Just because. At first, Patty was the only girl in the strip, but that would soon change on February 7th, 1951. Well, hello there. You don't know me, do you? My name is Violet. You're real cute. Well, why didn't you introduce me? First, Shermy states that he hates him. Then Patty punches him. Now Violet ignores him. No wonder why Charlie Brown got rid of these three. Violet quickly became Patty's best friend, the way Shermy became Charlie Brown's best friend. Although she's most known for her ponytail, Violet in the early days had pigtails. You know, it's kind of a shame Schultz decided to drop them after a year. She looks good in them, and they make her look more sweet and innocent. In a way, the change in hairstyle reflects a change in their personality. At first, she was rather sweet. Then later, she and Patty picked on Charlie Brown. They'd often tell him that they're throwing a party and that he isn't invited. You know, maybe they should have invited him to those parties. They might have had bigger careers. Schultz often said that Shermy, Violet, and Patty never really had much of a personality. But I think Violet was a little more distinct than the others. She is the only one of the three who had a last name, Gray. One trait she had in the early days was her love of making mud pies. These are very special mud pies. I sprinkled them with coconut. Here, Charlie Brown, have a mud pie. Pardon my fingers. Phooey! This tastes awful! I'm sorry, Violet, but I just don't like coconut. I hate coconut too, Charlie Brown. It's kind of ironic that she loved making mud pies, considering how in later years she would pick on Pigpen for being dirty. While this would be dropped, some adaptations, like the computer game It's the Big Game, Charlie Brown, would include Violet's love for making mud pies. In fact, Pigpen states that he loves her because of it. That explains why they were together on Family Guy. Before Marcy and Peppermint Patty, Violet and Patty had expressed feelings for Charlie Brown. One strip showed them arguing over who loved them more, while another strip had it where Patty kept him in her hope chest. I have no clue what to say to that. While both Patty and Violet would pick on Charlie Brown, Violet seemed the more dominant of the two. In fact, a lot of strips had it Violet was picking on them without Patty. She would often brag about how much better her dad is compared to the others. One strip in particular suggests that she comes from a wealthier family. This bragging often worked against her. My dad has a better job than your dad. My dad has a bigger car than your dad. My dad has a son. My dad is a better bridge player than your dad. My dad has traveled more than your dad. My dad is taller than your dad. My dad goes to PTA meetings. Boy, those strips were surprisingly dark. They suggest that her father doesn't love her. Maybe that's why Violet is as mean as Lucy. Speaking of Lucy, Violet was the first to do two things that we often associate with her. She was the first person to call Charlie Brown a blockhead. And she was the first person to pull away the football. Okay, she technically moved out of the way to avoid getting hit, which caused the ball to fall over just before Charlie Brown could kick it, but she was the one who started the gag. Shermy, Patty, and Violet may have been major characters during the 1950s, but by the 60s, their roles started to reduce. They were replaced by more interesting characters like Linus, Lucy, and Schroeder. Shermy was the first to go, with his last official appearance being on June 15, 1969. Patty and Violet would go on a little longer, with their final appearances being in the 90s, though they weren't used very often after the 60s. They probably stayed around longer because they could serve as part of Lucy's gang to pick on Charlie Brown. Shermy was just a bland character that Schultz admitted he only used whenever he needed a character with very little personality. Lucy overshadowed Violet and Patty because they just picked on Charlie Brown, whereas Lucy was known for her unrequited love for Schroeder and being the sister of Linus. Not to mention the fact that she didn't need any help picking on our favorite blockhead. Although their role in the strip had vanished, Shermy, Patty, and Violet were frequently used in adaptations. Patty was one of the original characters used in the off-Broadway play You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, though she was later replaced by better-known characters. The three of them were often used in animation, mostly as background characters. Most of the time they didn't have dialogue. In fact, Andy Pisa, sorry if I said that wrong, who voiced Shermy in the special Happiness is a Warm Blanket, Charlie Brown, stated that he never heard of him before. Much like in the strip, Violet had more memorable roles in the specials. The party in It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown took place at her house, and she was the one who cautioned Linus about falling in love with her teacher in Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown. She also gave Charlie Brown a used Valentine, in a rare display of kindness, and she bought her teacher some shaving lotion, but she forgot he had a beard. How do you forget that? All three were featured in the Peanuts movie. For a change, Patty, who has blonde hair for some reason, is the one with the memorable role. Much like in the strip, she is friends with Violet, but she is in love with Pigpen. While this isn't canon to the strip, she was the first person to meet him. I wish Schultz had made Patty's love for Pigpen canon. It makes her way more interesting than just being Violet's friend who picks on Charlie Brown. Shermy, Patty, and Violet may not be as big as stars as they were in the 50s, but they do get regular work as extras. Thanks for watching. Let me know if there are any Peanuts characters, forgotten or otherwise, you wish me to talk about in the comments section. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.